You don't have to ask for it, but whenever you attain a certain level of merit or soul kind of achievement, then the universe or the spiritual world will have to give you something in return. Why is that? I'm not sure, but as you rise in the ladder of consciousness, at every measure steps or levels, you'll acquire some powers. Mostly they will be ESPs. Other times there will be powerful thinking capacities whereby by you simply wishing or speaking things they will materialize. The danger of receiving such gifts, however, is that they are designed to keep you at that particular level, if not to degrade you from that level. Now, it might baffle you, why would the universe that so far has been trying to help you achieve enlightenment seek to make you a failure? We can say that it's a kind of filtering mechanism. The ascended masters don't want half cooked or half baked souls governing the universe, so they will take all kinds of tests. While it is easy to remember your spiritual journey in times of pain and suffering, it is harder in times of pleasure and bountifulness. So the idea is that the living souls that can stay on the path of achieving enlightenment will keep doing so even when everything is perfect for them. In this way, the ascended masters are able to separate the chaff from the wheat. What I'm going to teach you is not taught by most gurus. This is because they themselves do not know how to let go, and they do not want to do so of the powers that they receive. As we are talking about the gurus, I want to add another point. They definitely get some spiritual powers, like the ability to know the future, to see through people's minds and emotions, and even to heal the sick. There is nothing mysterious about that, as we have discussed earlier in the 13 components of consciousness. Even though science cannot prove them, we have a logical theory that can be tested. But that's not what I want to talk about now. So these gurus have meditated to such a great extent that they are provided with superpowers or ESPs. They not only enjoy that new power, but they use it to sell their image to the followers. Consequently, they gain power, status, the ability to enjoy material pleasures through the wealth that they acquire. Now, we all know that most, if not all, the gurus are unable to let go of that power, wealth, and material possessions that come to them. So many of them are embroiled in various kind of scandals, and it is all because they could not let go of the byproduct of their success, which is the huge number of followers and their blind following. They have to let it go, but they cannot. As a result, they stagnate in that level of consciousness that they had reached in their earlier meditation practice. Now, they are not able to let go of something so observable and obvious. How will they let go of that spiritual power that they have? Over the time, many of them will lose that particular ESP that brought them to that level because of their contaminated souls. But if they had let go of that ESP right at the beginning before the followers put them on the pedestals, then they would have reached the ultimate height of consciousness, which is the seventh COC. However, most of them are stuck in the lower COCs. And of course, it doesn't stop them from behaving and acting most likely that they are in the seventh COC. Thus, what I'm getting at is that there is no benefit of those ESPs that we get in the process of meditating. You have to let them go. The sooner you do so, the better. However, those ESPs have also got a purpose. That is to help you burn the past life karmas of desire that you have carried over. Use them to finish your karma. Once the old karma has been balanced, you will get a sense that you have to give up those ESPs. You'll sense it as a lack of fun and an increasing level of wrongness. These are the signs that it's time to move on. So, those who are not able to move on will end up putting on a show because the ESPs will vanish anyway. But that is something that happens inside. So the followers will not know. From this point onwards, it's all about putting on a show. In this way, the meditator becomes more and more hollow inside, an empty shell with a difficult facade or exterior to keep up with. It's very dangerous. So, even before you start your journey in unified meditation, you must know that detachment is the most important quality for any successful yogi. Detachment doesn't mean abandonment or quitting just because it's tough. Detachment means giving up when the time has come as per the intuition once get. Again, let me share my own experience. Throughout all the various phases of meditation that I talked to you about in the section of my Untold Meditation story, I attained so many types of extrasensory perceptions. I knew what they were for, so I used them to complete the karma that were seeded in me from my past lives. Sometimes I experienced pleasure from those ESPs, and sometimes I experienced pain. But I accepted both of them, knowing that it was a way for me to pay back my debts and collect the credits that I owed to people. The work done by the ESPs occur inside. Again, it's very much like imagination, but we already know there's a thin line between imagination and soul work. So much of the interactions that happen within us is invisible to people outside, but inside it is true, like a dream. But that is experienced at a conscious level. And then I know that it's time to move on, as I told you earlier, because you sense that elongating this experience will cause degradation. And so I let go. Now, let me describe to you how it's done using the diagram on your right and below. Detachment is not effective when performed only at the behavioral level or even at the level of the thinking. It has to occur at the meditation level first, that is, through soul work. This is how it looks in theory. As you can see in the diagram, there are three rows of the similar diagrams. They are all talking about the same thing, but with just a slight alteration. So let's look at the first one. You'll see a star which represents an individual, and you will recall the diagram on the second column. It represents the evolution of the soul, whereby we acquire various qualities, grow them, transform, and so on. And then eventually we increase our format three strategies of happiness and success. I told you earlier how we do this unified meditation earlier on. And in the third column, you'll see that the star is surrounded by a circle. It represents a new extrasensory perception or superpower. Then you will notice that in your right there is a yellow slit. The problem is that in order for the soul to continue its journey with the new power, that individual cannot pass through that slit or hole. So, what the unified meditation practitioner has got to do is to let go of that circle and pass through that hole. Then at the other end, you have the star devoid of any ESPs or circle here. The same process applies for the other two rows with different shapes representing different ESPs. Alternatively, you can think of it as a continuum, like the first row leads to the second row, whereby the individual gets new sets of ESPs, and then into the third row, which again leads to a new sets of ESPs. Basically, as you evolve your consciousness, you will be provided with new superpowers at every level. It just doesn't seem to stop. I've talked to you a lot about the various kinds of ESPs early on, so I'll not talk more about them here. All I want to tell to you is how I do it. So I close my eyes and then I think of that ESP, and then I choose to let it go. I symbolize my choice through a mantra that I have designed. It is Om Tat Sat. It is the same that people use when they perform fire rituals. It's like giving your possession here of ESP into the fire and being done with it. It's a sacrifice. When the attachment is so strong, I visualize that there is a cord that is connecting me with that particular ESP, and then I cut that cord, severing my connection with that ESP. Another important technique is to visualize that ESP as a color or energy field, and separating yourself from that color and energy field. Once this is done at the level of the soul, thinking of letting go and actually letting go is much easier and natural. Letting go of the desire and forcefully willing yourself to do so is the hardest part. And I have just taught you how it's done during your unified meditation sitting. Now I'll teach you the final technique of unified meditation that I have explained to you in the 30 steps earlier on. This is a very hypothetical exercise. I cannot say that I have tested it because I haven't died yet and come back to tell you. So it's all about practicing the time of your death. In unified meditation, the ultimate test is the day we die. The idea is to prepare ourselves so that on that important day, we are ready to ascend to the meta soul level instead of being recycled in the living soul level. That is described in the diagram. So it is the same diagram that we discussed earlier, except that I've added the meditating person, A, B, C, and D. Some of you might have an aversion to the idea of dying, but when you are practicing unified meditation, you have to take it on a positive note and part of your daily thinking process. Don't be afraid of it. Nobody really knows what happens after death, but it is people like me who carry some recollection of their past lives that are able to give some reassurance for those who don't have such a recollection. So you can take this section as a kind of a reassurance of the afterlife. So what this diagram is telling is, in the case of person A, at the time of death, the soul departs from his throat area, chakra, and that is represented by the green arrow, as you can see. Then it goes back into the living soul segment, and he is reborn with the remaining karma that he could not fulfill in that life of giving and taking to other people and to the universe. The same is true for person C, whose soul was at the heart chakra, and thus left from that again to be recycled. Now, in the case of person D and B, the soul, through meditation practice, was able to be located in the crown chakra, or the seventh COC. As a result, at the time of death, the soul left from that particular area. Then, as you can see by the arrows shown, it has not entered the living soul segment. Now it is liberated from the cycle of birth and death. And in terms of a diagram, this is what liberation means. The person D, as you can see, is established in the hierarchy, which is at the lower end. That is represented by the blue lines. Just so you don't get confused, the hierarchy here is upside down to represent the spiritual world. This means that person D, because it had a lesser connection with the meta soul, got a job at the lower level of the hierarchy of the ascended masters. It's not that bad. It's better than to be recycled. Again, my point is not to say that life is bad and being alive sucks. It's just that there is much more Sat Chit Ananda in the meta soul, and also the higher in the hierarchy you can go in it. So let's continue with person B. As you can see, he establishes himself at the highest level of the hierarchy because he has a much wider connection with the meta soul. Now that you have understood the diagram and the concept of ascension after death, let me teach you how to practice this during the meditation sitting. All you have to do is visualize this diagram and locate your soul, and then try to relocate yourself at a higher chakra or COC. Let's say you are able to focus your soul at the seventh COC. Then now just imagine that your soul is leaving from your crown into the space around it. Visualize the spiritual world by making various layers like we have in the atmosphere. We'll talk about this particular visualization in a later chapter. Then visualize yourself as having arrived into the gathering of the Ascended Masters. Try to stay there for as long as you can. Then return back in the same path that you took earlier on. Reach your crown, and from there go back to your original location of the soul, which had been possibly the heart chakra or the stomach chakra or the second COC, and so on. You don't have to practice this every day, but this should be part of your routine. For now, this is just a possible scenario for an inevitable event. I don't want to speak more about it because I'm not qualified for it. I don't have a recollection of my past deaths, and I have not been able to merge into the meta soul and get the final ascension in my past lives, obviously. If I had, I would not be here talking to you or writing this book. But I am guided with this particular information, so I just speak from my intuition and not experience, unlike the earlier sections of this chapter. Finally, I want to talk about how to control the mind, which is essential not only in unified meditation, but even to study or to perform at work, or even in your relationships at home with your friends, with strangers. At first, I didn't want to write too much in this section because I have written a full book on it, which you can read. It's called How to Manage Overthinking. However, I realized that what I wrote in that book was more relevant to general people who might or who might not be meditating, but mostly who are not meditating. So this section is purely for those who are meditating. That said, I encourage you to read my book on overthinking because it has got a lot of information that you'll find useful in order to control your mind. In the introduction, I also talked about how we can control the mind and the various thoughts that come in it. Even in this chapter, I talked about various thoughts, processes. So I will just add on to them and not repeat what I said earlier on. First, using the diagram, I would like to describe to you how or why controlling the mind is so important in unified meditation. In fact, in any meditation. You'll notice that on your left hand side, there is this meditation block. The green blotch represents your thinking. In the waking state, our thinking expands from the mind into the body also, meaning that we are not only absorbed in our thought, but we are aware of our bodies and the senses. The black arrows represents the external stimulus that leads to thinking. Next is the meditation stage, whereby the green blotch, as you can see, is focused in the mind because we shut off our senses. However, just because we are not hearing or seeing, the stimulus don't stop to enter our thinking and mind. That is represented by the black arrows. In the third diagram, what happens is the stimulus leads to spiraling of new thoughts. That is represented by the circular arrow. Consequently, you can see that the green blotch, which represents the extent of thinking, becomes extremely large. That is why we feel that our mind is exploding when we meditate. For many people, this explosion leads us to give up meditation. In the second row, you will see the first meditation block diagram, where I added a purple hexagram around the thinking blotch. This represents the meditation control techniques. I will give you the example of my own later on. Now, what this hexagram does is that it acts like a shield, and consequently, the stimulus are not able to enter the thinking mind. This is represented in the second diagram, whereby you can see that the black arrows are reflected at the surface of the hexagram. I want to remind you that when I say thinking, I also imply feelings. So both the feeling and the thinking stimulus are reflected, and then consequently the thinking blotch, which is represented by the green, crystallizes into a star. By this, I'm trying to say that the mind becomes very effective and powerful. Finally, in the last diagram, you will see that the black arrows now do not even come close to the thinking blotch, and they just surround that. It feels like a wind, but it's not like a truck running over you, which was the case earlier on. My best techniques fo- to specialize on controlling the mind is walking and exercise meditation. I have a fixed routine or path, and then I forget that particular routine or path and focus on my thoughts and feelings. At first, I let them diverge and extend as far as they want, like a kite. But I have the rope tied to them, that is the kites of thought and feelings, and I am strongly holding the ground. And then after some time, I pull them, meaning that my thoughts converge back. And so this diverging and converging continues, like I'm cooking a dish and mixing the soup until the best and the perfect mixture is achieved. Exercise is the best way to control the mind because it pumps endorphin in your body and in your brain, which provides the best environment for managing your thoughts and feelings. To tell you the truth, if I did not exercise, I would go mad. So for me, exercising is more a mental process than a physical activity. I exercise minimum 3 hours a day, up to 5 hours a day. People think that I'm a health freak, but no, I am mind control freak. I just learn and master um, my thoughts while I'm exercising.